Okay, I just want to add on. I watched this video. Yeah, it's a lot. I'm going to be going into and making videos on going into depth on a lot of this. I feel that it will help some people clear up exactly where I'm coming from. But three things that I forgot, and I'm sure there's more, but three that I forgot to add on to here when I was originally doing the video. Grounding. Grounding was very important. Just getting my bare feet on the ground outside. Crystals. Crystals I've been working with for almost 2 years now. Have been very important on my journey. And energy work. I started becoming familiar with exactly what energy work was a few years ago. There's a local energy healer that I went to that does energy work, and I went to her like 3 times, I think, and I could feel the difference. Like I could feel when she was working on me. I could feel when she was releasing things. Afterwards, I would be really tired, and I'd feel lighter and feel better. But again, it only lasts for a couple days, and then it just, slowly right back to normal. But energy work, I started getting into myself through my Hape ceremonies with um, with marijuana. Is how I first got opened up to it, and being able to visualize and see that that was real. Um, and so, I didn't think much of it. I mean, I've done a whole bunch of that's going to have to be a whole separate video, but I've gotten to the point now where I'm actively working on in the energy work that lady was doing for me. I'm able to do on myself now, which is absolutely amazing. So I just wanted to add that those three things have definitely been huge for me, and things that I still utilize. Um, I also, so holding the paradoxes again, embracing these paradoxes. Uh, you know, I talk about not being married to these modalities. At the same time, I am coming to understand how I'm calling some of these things modalities when right now they're just a necessary part of what I'm doing in this healing journey. Uh, if I hadn't and am not utilizing these things, then what else am I doing? Uh, so not so much modalities as just a way of being, um, in alignment with what is healthy for my system, physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually, and all of these things, you know, um, are in alignment with this healing. The other thing I wanted to clear up was, I don't know if I ever went into depth about this or not. Let me see here. See if I can drop this. There we go. So these are the things that I was dealing with prior to uh, 5 years ago, and even up to now. But at very much more controlled and with an understanding of what I'm dealing with. So these things are autism, ADHD, CPTSD, severe anxiety, depression, masking, people pleasing, and self hate. So with my autism, I was dealing with repetitive behaviors. Um, so, you know, the repetitive behaviors is a sense of security, to find security and safety. Sensory sensitivities, I mean, ever since I was a little child, up until today, I go into a store. If I walk past a clothes section, I got to touch, just as I walk by, I got to touch and feel all the different fabrics and everything. And then, of course, the extreme sensitivities to other people's feelings, emotions, the energies in a room, the thoughts that people are having, uh, all of those things. So, I've always dealt with these things. Intense focus on specific topics. Um, yeah, I mean, you guys can see how intensely I focus on specific topics. ADHD, always dealt with inattention, hyperactivity, and impulsivity. Again, that goes all the way back to, where I can see examples of that would be in school, and getting in trouble all the time for not being able to sit still, not being able to concentrate, not being able to focus on their bullshit, whatever they want to do, not being able to follow the leader, all that stuff. And even up to today, still dealing and with the slowing down has helped me with my impulsivity. My hyperactivity, again, staying aware and present has helped unbelievably with that. My inattention, getting sober, and of course, all these other things have helped with my inattention. So, at the core base of it, for what society and these horrible toxic systems have diagnosed as autism and ADHD, I've gotten down to pretty much the core of what these things are, and they are not a disease, they are not a problem, they are a gift that I am learning how to utilize in fulfillment of my purpose. CPTSD and PTSD because of all my brain injuries. So dealing with both of these, but CPTSD, extreme emotional shifts, go from real high highs to real low lows to, extreme happiness to extreme anger at the drop of a dime. Chronic guilt and shame. I've gone over that in detail. Dissociation. Again, that's why I had all my masks. I completely dissociated. Feelings of emptiness. That's why I had to use alcohol, sex, and drugs and food and whatever else I could find to, fighting, instigating shit, just to fill that void. Being irreparably damaged, feelings of being irreparably damaged, that was with me my whole life. I could never be fixed, but, I gaslit myself and said there was nothing wrong. And I was able to keep that false narrative propped up by staying completely comatose through alcohol and drugs. Severe anxiety, the pit in your stomach, the cracked out feeling, heart racing, indecisive, confused, maniacal, all those things from severe anxiety. Again, I never even knew what it was. I just thought it was normal. I thought that's how everybody was. So I was dealing with that. Depression, suicidal ideations, all the way up until 5 years ago. I have not had any suicidal ideation since. And that is, a part of my far past, thankfully, because I have a purpose now. And because I have dedicated myself 100% to my purpose. So, that is completely gone. Inability to move comes with depression and exhaustion. I would work and burn myself out to the point where, I would just crash. I couldn't get up for 3 days, and then even after that, I just forced myself to do what needed to be done and go right back at it and work for a month, 6 weeks straight. And, just, oh gosh, yeah. Masking, hundreds of personalities. I didn't even know who I truly was. Had no clue, because I could fit into any situation and any group of people. And that didn't help, being a runaway and, having no clan, no group, no sense of identity. So therefore, anybody I was able to, because of my autism, be able to read and see these patterns and know who they were, what they wanted to hear, what they like to do, and be able to fit in. So hundreds of personalities I was dealing with. Walls thick as thick can get, as high as can get. I had walled off my authentic self completely, to the point where I had forgotten completely who I was. People pleasing, craving acceptance, for approval, whatever it took to be loved. Yeah, and that's again just giving up my authentic self. And because I was so good at masking, I was very good at people pleasing, and I took pride in that. And that's the only way I found my worth. And then self-hate, born in sin, evil, all these things that were put into me at a very young age, that I was a liar, forced to lie when I was telling the truth through punishment, being punished severely, all kinds of crazy, wild punishments, until I couldn't take it anymore, and I'd just admit to lies, whatever they wanted me to say. So built that identity in myself that I was just a liar, even when I was telling the truth. Lazy, always felt that if I wasn't doing, that I was lazy. Again, I could work 6 weeks in a row, nonstop, every day, 6 weeks in a row. And like when I had my business, first started my business, and my construction business, not my book business, from when I was younger. But, just crash out, and those 2, 3, 4 days where I couldn't move, just having these replaying repetitive thoughts in my head of how lazy I was. And then of course it would bring in the worthlessness and the unworthiness that I was dealing with. And of course that, not being able to do those things, bad things would happen. I was literally a magnet for everything negative and everything bad to come my way. And so, I just feeling like I deserved bad things, because that's what I always attracted and always was with. So, these are the things I was dealing with, and this is how I, have brought myself out of hell, and brought myself up and saved myself. So I just want to make those clear, because that first video I did on this, man, it's just so much, guys, especially for where I'm at now, and having to go back and then embracing all these paradoxes, and then knowing things I've said, like being married to these modalities, but again, having to learn to give myself the grace, and understanding, and being able to forgive myself. So that's that.